Welcome to Beadsmith Presents the Introduction to the Micro Engraver. I'm Leslie Rogowski, the Creative Director for the Beadsmiths, and I am joined today by my colleague and buddy, Leslie Pope, who will be monitoring your questions for today's workshop. Before we start, I want you guys to remember that this is all being recorded. So I do not expect you, and you shouldn't expect yourselves to try to do anything along with this. This is going to be some demos and showing you some of the ideas for using the micro engraver. And I know I'm just going to give you a heads up at some point today. I'm going to refer to this as a microspacer, because we use microspacer beads a lot, and it's right there on the tip of my tongue. So the micro engraver is a really fun thing, and this was kind of an intro for me too to this product. I have not had a lot of opportunity to use it, but I have to tell you that when I picked this up and started to practice with it, I ended up running all over my house to try to find things to engrave. So you'll probably get that bug too. But why don't we go, and just again, a reminder that this is being recorded. Why don't we go to my mat and let's get into it, and I'll talk to you about the micro engraver. Okay, this is what you'll see in the store. The micro engraver comes in this nice handy pack. On the back is information that I'm going to share with you today about just how to get it working. So it's really very, very basic. It comes with 2 tips, a wider one and a thinner one, and a little Allen key to change the tips out. I'm going to take the batteries out before I do that so I don't inadvertently turn it on. It just runs on a couple of the skinny little AAA batteries. So up here is the little diamond bit, and the Allen key fits and this part here where the nib turns. You put the Allen key in and give it a little twist, slide it out. Here's the skinny one. This is what I'm going to use to show you how to work it. Put the Allen key back in, tighten it up. You don't want to tighten it so that you don't want to strip it, right? Let me get a message just came up on my computer. Okay, so there you go. You're going to look at the handy diagram to put your batteries in, positive side in, screw them in. It's very lightweight. Should be easy to manipulate. And then you see this little button here? All right, listen up. You guys can all hear that, right? Okay. So you hold this like a pen. Now you have 2 ways. You can hold it with your index finger on it like this, or you can turn it around if that works better for you and control it with your thumb. Now I'm kind of holding it between my 2 fingers. So try different things. Try the different positions to see what's most comfortable. I like using my index finger. So you definitely need to do this and figure this out before you start. You must practice before you do this. This is permanent, right? You're engraving into something. So find some, inexpensive dollar store things or whatever. This works great on metal, glass, plastic, wood. There's just a lot you can try this on to see. So I have a piece of, it's an old ruler here. This is my little scrap metal. You can see I just wrote my name on it, try to get it there. All right, so if you have nice handwriting, you're really gonna like this, but I'm gonna show you a way down the road where you can copy and trace other designs. So I'm just gonna sign my name, just kind of play around with this. I'm holding my finger on it. You don't want to press too hard, because if you're pressing down too hard, it'll either stop it. Did you hear the sound difference there? Or you might end up sliding off. So you're going to take your piece of scrap metal or scrap plastic, whatever, and you're just going to play around, just doodle on it and get the feel for it. On certain things, you're going to want to hold the pen a little more upright than you might normally with a regular pen or pencil. Think like calligraphy pen or paintbrush, where you want to have that kind of contact. And again, you're just going to press on it. Just squiggle around, do whatever you want until you get the feeling for it. That's it. That's all there is. No, I'm going to show you something else. All right. Here's a little dog tag. A collar tag. You can buy metal blanks in all different shapes to use to engrave. Another fun thing, if you're a jewelry maker, you can find these little tags to add to your jewelry, and you can just hand sign every piece this way. Most of them have little jump rings to it. You can attach it to your necklaces or bracelets. I am a beader, and I do a lot of seed bead work, but sometimes I have spacer beads or accents. This is just a plain, ordinary, mundane black wooden bead, and I took the micro engraver to it and just made little lines down it. Really easy, but now if I have like a dozen of them to space out in between some of the other materials I want to string, I have a personal touch. You will have a personal touch. You can also do some cool stuff if you work with the centerline components and you have other metal jewelry. You can inscribe messages on the inside. You can put a medical alert on a favorite piece of jewelry really easily. As long as it's legible, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. You can put down an emergency number, or you can write a special message inside to whoever you might be giving this to. A date of a first date you can put in there. You can put a peanut allergy in there or whatever, so you can do that. Here's another cuff. You can see I've engraved with the nautical pattern flag spells out Beater's Rock. So I just wrote Beater's Rock by Leslie Rogowski inside. And I'm sure you can think of a lot of other ways to incorporate this kind of a personal touch to your jewelry. I found that one of my favorite things to do with it was transparent objects, because it gave it an etched, this etched look. So here I have memo pads that are mouse ears, and I taped it to the inside, took the heavier tip of the micro engraver and slowly worked my way around and ended up with this on my tumbler. You guys can see that. It's really fun. I want to do the whole set. It's just plastic. Then I started to think, oh, spice jars, right? So I got myself a set of spice jars, and I have the paper in here to just so you can see. Now, I was a calligrapher for a long time, so I was able to do something like this pretty freehand and go over it. You can put whatever spices you want on it. But then I ended up with a couple products directly from Michaels, these really cute little votive jars. These aren't shot glasses, they're meant for candles, but I put a sticker of one of my favorite characters on one side and his significant other on the other side, and just tape them in there. And again, the paper's in there just so you could see that I traced over it. And I'm going to do the same thing to his lady on the other side. When you work with glasses, there's a thickness to the glass. So as you're tracing, you have to sort of keep this very perpendicular as you do this, because you're going to have that thickness. and I'm going to do this instead for the demo on these little mason jars from Michael's. They're party favor jars, and they have nice little metal lids that you can also engrave with the micro engraver. So here's one. I'm going to show you a finished one first. Little favor jar that says thank you on it. And again, I just wrote it right out on there. And then I wrote out the nicknames of two people who just got engaged on this. The papers just to show you, Jeb and Keb. So now they have little party favor jars. Didn't take me long to do this. I think if you were doing a wedding, you'd be spending a weekend doing 50 of these. But the jar comes with this raised word love on it. And I actually took my engraver to make this stand out more and very carefully traced around the embossed letters. On the shadow side, just to give it a little more emphasis. Now I want to point out, I don't know if you could see there's some particles that get thrown off by this. So if you're really going to be doing this and getting up close and personal, unfortunately, but also here's handy, we have masks in our houses now. And you might want to put just a little simple dust mask on, a cloth mask. It doesn't have to be medical grade for this because we're just talking about dust particles that come off. So again, I'm holding it like a pen and I'm pressing with my index finger and slowly and very gently, I'm not pressing hard on this. I'm following around the embossed word on these little mason jars. You see that there? Excellent. So I have another jar and I'm going to show you how I work with a tracing. I printed out, I love beads because I love beads. I'm sure many of you do too. And I just taped it to the inside of the jar. And it takes a little bit of fussing to get it, make sure you get it straight on what you're doing, not too close to the bottom. But again, there's a thickness to the glass. So you want to just pay attention to that as you're tracing. Let's do the letter I first. And again, I'm holding it kind of perpendicular, and I'm always going to be facing perpendicular to what you're tracing. So you have that same angle on all parts of the words and the letters. Now I want to make this solid. This is one caveat. This is not going to look like it's machine engraved. This is handcrafted by you. And I think part of the charm of using the micro engraver is exactly that. It is obviously a handheld tool and it's going to have the look of an artisan made thing, not a machine made thing. So let's see what we can do here. I want to show you how far away from the actual, if I put this down on the glass, can you see that there's the space between the paper and the tip? So you just want to make sure that you're compensating for that. See how slowly I'm doing that? Now I'm going to go back probably and fill this in so that it's nice and substantial. I don't know if you can see that on there. I'm going to do the heart. And I'm going to take my time with the heart because I probably won't fill that in, but I haven't decided yet. If I mess it up, then I can fill it in to cover any mistakes. And it's okay to stop during the course of this, but make sure that you line up the point before you start again, line up the tip, and you'll feel it in the etched part. Started to slide away from me. I can see that there. Even that out. All right, let's just show you. I'm going to take this out. It's just scotch taped in. There we go. I can put this in so you can see what I did. A little dusty. All right, and then to color it in, that's kind of zen. You can just go back and, as if you were coloring it in with a pencil. And now's where you can finesse the shape of your letters a little bit. So you can see all that dust maybe that's coming up there. Fun though, right? So that's the intro to this, really. It's the practice of it. The more you do, the more comfortable you'll get with the feel for it. Now, I bet if you're really a crafty person, you could go back to where this is engraved and take some Doc Martens dyes or some Liquitex tint and carefully paint into the engraved part, and it'll really stick in there. That would give it a color, like a matte etched color might be really cool. There's the eye. So it'll stand out a lot more on your jar when you do it. As I said, you can do it on wood, plastic, metal, glass. I actually never got my wedding band, and my husband's wedding bands were never engraved. So once I feel a little more comfortable with this, I'm going to go in and put our initials in the date on the inside. And I talked to you about the thickness of the glass and to work slowly. So that's it. This was fun, right? Any questions about this? I see some things in the chat. Leslie Pope, anything I need to answer?
No, I was just thinking you might want to remind people that you didn't really do a tutorial for this.
Oh, thank you. No, there really wasn't a step-by-step tutorial. This is a technique that I wanted to share with you. And just a very intro. I know that there are ways, if you have a wooden box, that you can rubber stamp a design on it and carefully trace through that. But remember that this is recorded and you guys can go back and check it out again. It's the Beadsmith micro engraver that we're sharing with you today.
We did get a request that can you show it on wood, but I don't know if you have a wood. Do you have a wood?
I don't, and I'll tell you why. You need a kind of a hard wood. And I picked up a couple sort of hobby boxes that you might otherwise paint or decoupage, and the wood was too soft. But hang on a second. Maybe I can do something. All right, here's a chopstick. Let's look at this chopstick. And I'm just going to try to make a little line on the chopstick. Do you see that? So if this was a darker shade of wood, or if you had a piece of wood that was painted and you engraved through the paint, like it would look like the way a scratchboard design would look. And I think that would be really fun. You could make designs on things. And then the lighter color would show through. Somebody asked how much these cost.
I'm
Do you
doing
know?
it.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm putting it in.
Okay, so we're gonna find, it's gonna be in your chat. So that answer will be there. And you can go back into the recording and you will be able to find that answer again.
The
Remember
other,
to wear a mask if you're getting really close because of the little particles. I found glass to be the easiest. Glass and plastic are the easiest surfaces to work on because they're so smooth. The metal, you got to test this stuff because it depends on the metal. The little penny tag, the dog tag, was a harder metal and I really had to take my time. The lids are a lighter metal.
probably
So
aluminum.
What's that?
I said it's probably aluminum.
It could be. It could
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
Being still a kind of a beginner at this myself, this is an intro to get started, but
Cool.
so practice your handwriting before you do this stuff. Of course, I chose mostly round things to show you, but that's the micro engraver. The answer
one more-
to how much
One
is
more
the,
question.
yes.
What is the larger head used for? Is that used to fill in bigger spots?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's I can show you what that looks like. I'm going to take my Allen key. You notice how I'm using it for the maximum torque. You put it in the little keyhole. You only need to turn it a little bit. If you turn it too much, the little screw part's going to come out. But otherwise, it just goes in and out. There's the larger one. Tighten it up. So I'll show you, I'm going to fill in the heart that I just drew. Right. So you can see the difference in the line weight. If you have a larger area to cover, I'm working on very little items. So if you have a larger area to cover, this would be more helpful. In the nib size. See the difference in the line weight? So for filling in things, this is going to be really good. Pay attention again to the thickness of the material of the glass where you're working. And make sure you can see where the nib is leaving its mark. See all that dust. Did you hear how not very much pressure, I was almost able to stop this. So you do not have to use a lot of muscle for this art form at all. You know, it might be really fun to make a copy of like your kids' art and trace it onto a little jar for them. One of my first thoughts was baby teeth, a little jar for baby teeth. Beads and more, let's see. Here. A little wiggly. There you go. I'm telling you, you're going to be running all over your house when you get one of these to see what you can personalize.
Well, I have to say your free hand is way better than my free hand.
Well, I had a lot of practice doing calligraphy. I used to buy my art supplies with money I earned doing like wedding envelopes and invitations before everything was printed. So that's really it, you guys. If there aren't any more questions, on behalf of the Beadsmith and Michaels and Team Leslie, as they call us from the Beadsmith. I hope you had fun and learned how to be better at whatever it is that you like to create. Oh, and look for me in upcoming workshops for the Beadsmith for Michael's in December and January. I'm going to be helping to introduce you to, I think, a macrame board and a Kumihimo disc. And so watch for those dates to be posted on michaels.com. Leslie Rogowski, Creative Director for the Beadsmith, here with my colleague, Leslie Pope, Senior Designer for the Beadsmith. Thanks for joining us. See ya.